Hello, this is Jamie, and this is Supplier News. Today is your small business news for Friday, August 27th, 2021. All right, so for today, as you can see on the front screen here, we're going to be talking about how the Supreme Court is now ending the eviction protection. We're also going to be talking about how savings has reached over 17 trillion for American businesses. And then lastly, if you're not aware, this month is actually National Black Business Month. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Well, before we get into it, as always, if you like the content we provide, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, comment, and share with other people who you think may be interested in this content. All right, let's go ahead and get started. First up, the Supreme Court allows evictions to resume during pandemic. So this was pretty much everywhere today, but the Supreme Court voted majority to end the eviction, I guess, ban, if you will, or temporary delay from continuing that the Biden administration was trying to push. So if you're not aware, basically the moratorium, or we'll just say eviction delay, actually went into place after July 31st, I believe. So July 31st was when Congress mandated that no one can be evicted. But then what happened was the CDC reimposed the moratorium on August 3rd, so a couple of days after that eviction from Congress ended. So the question was, can the CDC impose these restrictions without Congress backing that? Like, can the CDC do this? And the Supreme Court decided that they cannot. And which whether if you agree with it or not, it kind of makes sense, right? If the Supreme Court's argument was that if we're going to have a law in place that delays evictions, then Congress has to pass it. Point blank, period. If Congress doesn't pass it, then it's not legal. The CDC can recommend, but they can't just mandate that it can happen because no one votes for them, right? People vote for Congress. Congress are the people who are our representatives, so they should be the ones that make that decision. And again, that makes sense. Now, obviously, this is really bad news for those who are going to be hurt by it. Here it is. There are 46 billion in rental assistance that Congress has approved. So that's probably what they were. That's why they didn't pass any new legislation, right? Because instead of that, they decided to pass 46 billion in rental assistance. Now, unfortunately, only about 11% of the money, or just over 5 billion, has been distributed. So a ton of it has not. And now that the eviction ban is essentially done with, now there's going to probably be a lot of people who are going to be applying at the same time to try to see if they can, pay for their rent. There's a couple of states that will continue with the eviction bans, but just because their state Congress has passed things. But the majority of states, this will affect them pretty recently. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. This is going to obviously affect people, again, who are renting things out. If you're a small business that's in kind of the real estate, this is going to be very interesting news because now you can make moves to potentially evict people. So it's kind of a rare mix between small business renters, and I mean small business employees, if you will, and then kind of like doing the right thing, the moral aspect of it. Because from a business perspective, if you're not getting paid, then you have to do what you have to do to generate revenue. Because you could be hurting too. On the flip side of it, nobody asked for the pandemic. Nobody knew asked to lose their job in this. So it's very tricky. Again, there is assistance out there if you need it, but again, a very tricky situation. No good answer here, but definitely wanted to let you know as this was really big today. All right, next up, there's still billions of dollars in relief available for small businesses. So before I get into it, one of the big pieces that's coming with the SBA is the new SBA administrator, um, Isabella Guzman. So very early on, when she was selected to be the administrator, she made it very clear that she wanted to change how the SBA works, right? So the SBA in past years has tried to be kind of a business development with access to some loans and grants and funding opportunities for businesses. Isabella Guzman has come out and said that she wants to essentially basically just focus on helping businesses find funding, and that's going to be their main priority. Again, this is a big change, as the SBA I'm used to has been If you go to them, it's they've always been pushing the business development. That's kind of, from my perspective at least, what they've been pushing. So now they're just going to do funding. If you ask a business, there's only really two things that business will ask for 99% of the time: funding and introduce me to customers. So the fact that she's focusing in on that is, in my opinion, good. If she can get the customer piece, then that'll be a bonus as well. Now, most companies actually do need business development, I will admit, but if you're offering business development and nobody's coming to you for that, then is what you're offering, is that really valuable? And that's the tricky part with the SBA. Now, because of that, as you can see here, she's saying that they have billions of dollars in relief. Now, because she's focusing on funding opportunities, now the question is, business development people weren't going to you for that. So are they going to you for funding? And it appears, in the short term at least, like that they're still having issues with that, getting people to come to the SBA. So as everybody's pretty much known, because of the Delta variant, a lot of exposure here. A lot of companies are having issues and worrying about um, potential consumer their potential consumer base dwindling or not coming out as much as they thought because of the recent increase, right? And then here's kind of a map that you can take a look at. Descriptions in I'm sorry, the link is in the description below. But the big piece here, it kind of walks you through the PPP loans and the different types of loans, the restaurant revitalization. There's a ton of loans that they kind of go through. Basically, with all the loans, when they first initially released them, a ton of people got them. Mainly went to the people with already good relationship with banks, big businesses, and whatnot. But as they've kind of released newer types of loans, they're having trouble really giving this to businesses. However, with that being said, overall, as of August 15th, about 470 billion in PP loans has been forgiven out of the 800 billion. So while there has been issues, they've still been doing a pretty solid job of getting this money out there, right? I think the total is around like 900 billion. So while there's money left over, they've still done a pretty good job, I guess you can say, when it comes to that. So continuing along this, I'm just kind of letting people know that this is out there. There's still money if you need a PPP or any type of loan, well, mainly the PPP loan for your small business, and they're pushing really heavily for all of these loans to be forgiven. So again, another opportunity if you're a small business for added protection, if you will, with the funding opportunity. Definitely take a look if you need it. Next up, U.S. households and small businesses have stockpiled a mind-blowing record cash pile of almost $17 trillion. Now, this is huge, right? One of the things, I'm just going to kind of jump around here, but one of the big things that is interesting about the 17 trillion in savings is the fact that none of that money is going into the market, right? Which is amazing because the stock market is at a record high, crypto is at a record high. You're having all of these type of investments, real estate is at a record high, like all these type of investments. And even with these record highs, there's still 17 trillion left over that isn't being touched. That's just sitting there. Amazing. Now, when you see these type of numbers, 17 trillion in saving, now we understand why, Congress isn't getting rid of not prolonging the eviction moratorium and things of that nature, right? Like this is just amazing. So because of, as you can see, the kind of shoot up here from less than 11 trillion 2 years ago to 17 trillion, so an increase, what was that, like 60-70% in just 3 years. That's just amazing. Again, we all know why, because of the pandemic, because of the stimulus checks that were given, and the protection on things such as like rent. People were able to save up money that way. Now, this is a little tricky because how a basic economy works, right, is obviously you have the people at the top and at the bottom, but here's the truth of the economy. In order for an economy to work efficiently, efficiently, people have to be spending money, right? Savings of this magnitude typically aren't good for an economy. You need money to be going out, paying to small businesses, people actually going out for entertainment, doing things, and things like that. A really big, like, kind of obvious example that we can see in terms of why, how people aren't spending is just like the movie theater, right? Like, we've had movies at this point, we would have probably had, $5 or $6 billion box office movies at this point of the year. We've had zero, right? So that kind of shows you just a quick example of I mean, if each one is $1 billion, let's say 1.5 billion, that's $7.5 billion that would have went out of people's hands, into these businesses. So into these entertainments, right? Oh yeah, and businesses. So because of that lack of funding, now we're having small businesses that may be having issues kind of moving forward, getting consumers back in, and paying. So while the 17 trillion is a good for us as people, and working through and having money left over, when it comes to supporting an economy, that's probably not the best thing that we need. But this economy is it's just an unusual economy right now. It's so there's just really no way to really define what's going on and how the metric of success is just going to be so just everywhere from 2020 to whenever we get out of this. So interesting here. In addition to that, also people are working remote, so they don't have to spend money on like gas and things like that. So there's just a lot of factors here. So it's just very interesting that we have this much money, and particularly when we're talking about investments, there's a lot of people who are now saying, this is extremely good because if you can convince, let's say 10%, heck, let's say 1%. If you can get 1% of that 17 trillion, that's 170 billion into the market. That is huge, and the ability for everyone involved to make money, no matter where you're at in terms of your net worth. So, a very interesting 17 trillion. Obviously, there are plenty of businesses who are trying to make plans to figure out how to get this money from U.S. consumers, but we'll see how that goes. But very fascinating. Thought that would be something interesting of note. The last piece that I want to talk about is it's National Black Business Month, right? I'm going to be honest, I didn't know about this, but August is National Black Business Month. So they really want to talk. They really highlight some of the companies that are looking to support black businesses. So, for example, McDonald's, General Motors. There's a couple of studies that have come out. National Black Chamber of Commerce have also mentioned this as well. Talked about a couple of things here about how, again, with these two companies specifically, as well as kind of how we're seeing an evolution of black businesses' relationships with these larger companies. Really big piece is Association of National Advertisers. We're really pushing on the fact that companies are now looking for more black advertisers to really help them reach out to the black community to get more business. So pretty interesting in terms of opportunities there. If you're interested. So just wanted to kind of note this, make sure that everybody's aware. I know August is almost over, but still, even if you just find out, the last day, I do think it's interesting, and hopefully next year it's something that we can give support to, black-owned businesses. Okay. With that being said, as always, if you like the content we provide, make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment, and share with other people you think may be interested in this type of content. That being said, thank you so much for your time, and have a great day.